sometimes people in their anger can hurt us, and it's okay to acknowledge that feeling of hurt. It's okay to say, this is really unacceptable behavior. I don't deserve this. That's all okay. And we don't have to let somebody's anger become our anger. We don't have to mirror that anger back. We don't have to allow somebody's misunderstanding, misperceiving of what is real to make us feel sorrow. We are the masters of our emotional state. And so it's, again, just through steadiness and practice that we can stay in alignment. And the truth is, if we are doing our work, that person will find a way out of our experience. It's not a match. It's not a vibrational match. If I'm steady, I'm centered, I'm love, I'm clear, I'm navigating this with skill, at some point, they will find a way, or it will heal. It will resolve itself. Good morning, everybody. And welcome to our Truth, Love, and Justice series. The topic today is how to work with anger, rage, and frustration. Feelings that, as humans, we're all familiar with. Our first question is, what is anger, rage, and frustration? So we'll talk a little bit about what's happening to us physiologically, what is the biological process of it, and then of course, what do the yogis say about anger, rage, and frustration. So anger and rage and frustration are primal emotional experiences that every human is born with the capacity to feel. It starts, we talked a little bit about this, I feel like in another Truth, Love, and Justice series, in an area of the brain called the limbic system. That's where you find your amygdala, and that's the part of the brain that is like the alarm system. So anytime we feel a sense of injustice, anytime we feel a sense of unfairness, anytime we feel that there is a gap between what our brain believes should happen and what is actually unfolding in front of us, that could elicit the feeling of anger. Oftentimes the feeling of anger is associated with aggressiveness. It makes us, it stimulates the flight or fight response, but leaning on the fight side. So it makes us want to protect ourselves. It puts us into a defensive position. And if you've ever spent time with toddlers who are known to have like angry temper tantrums, it's a very human thing to feel anger. The key though is that we learn how to regulate that anger in a healthy way. So the toddler is not yet, their brain is not yet fully developed enough to process that emotion, so they're gonna have a full breakdown. The clumsiness of humans is that sometimes we don't grow out of that toddlerhood, and we are full adults who have yet learned how to regulate ourselves. And so we see it every day, adults who have temper tantrums. I've seen it, I'm sure you've seen it, and maybe there have been times where it was us who did not know how to regulate our emotions. Now, the part of the brain that does that is in the prefrontal cortex. And so that part of the brain is the part of the brain that has elasticity, is the part of the brain that grows compassion when we meditate. So there's a lot of science behind the ability of self-regulation through certain practices, contemplative practices. The last thing I want to say about anger and what happens to us when we experience it is it does have an impact on our long-term wellness. So whenever we have anger, certain hormones and chemicals are released in the body. They are cortisol, which you've probably heard of before, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. These things actually impact the function of our heart. So people who experience anger often can develop heart disease. They're often chronically stressed. It can impact your digestive system. So if we spend a lot of time in anger, it can have a negative impact on our physical wellness over time. People have even been known to to have heart attacks in the middle of an argument because they have gotten so angry. So it really is both spiritually and physically important for us to learn how to master that emotion. And when we practice anger, it makes us susceptible to manipulation, like on a large scale, because we're in a highly suggestible state. We also are very impulsive, and we have set ourselves up in separation consciousness. So we're living from a perspective of me versus that person, us versus them. So anger has an impact not just on the individual, but how we operate as a society. And it can be used as a tool in a negative way to manipulate large groups of people. I'll pass it to you, Swami.
Thank you so much. Great to see you. So one of the things that I noticed, I was looking at what science says right now as well. And there's a study from a doctor who's at Columbia University, and he says, people have known for a long time that acute anger increases the risk for heart attacks. And so he conducted a study and he wanted to figure out why. And so one of the things that he found was that anger affects blood vessel function. So you want your blood vessels to be able to dilate. It allows your brain to be healthy. It allows your immune system to function well. It allows your body temperature and heart pressure to regulate. It allows the delivery of oxygen and nutrients throughout your body. So people in this study, and this was young adults who were healthy, like adults in their 20s who were healthy, they practiced thinking about angry memories for 8 minutes. 40 minutes after they practiced remembering these angry things for 8 minutes, their blood vessels experienced a greater than 50% reduction in their ability to dilate. And so what that means is I'm affecting my immune system, I'm affecting my blood pressure, I'm affecting my brain, I'm affecting my well-being physically, mentally, emotionally, if I allow myself to indulge in anger. And so it gives me an immediate inspiration or impetus to practice self-awareness in relation to anger. And so I looked this up as well, and there was a study that looked at something like 118 studies that show being present in this moment and simply aware reduces anger. So just, I am present, I am in this moment, I am connected with awareness. And what happens then is we gain the ability to be neutral. We gain the ability to witness. So you mentioned it's natural. A wave of anger can arise in ourselves. And if it does, if you just notice, a wave of anger has arisen. I am present. I am noticing. I am observing. It will pass. It will just move through you. And so you gain freedom in your own ability to choose how would I like to respond, what would I like to energize. The Bhagavad Gita and Buddhist teachings as well say the same thing, say that anger is a gateway to the lower self. And the reason is because, I mean, you all have seen this, but just it's like not rational. It can kind of cause you to do things that your conscious brain would not normally allow you to choose. And adults can experience this, toddlers can experience this, but this is the kind of infantile thing that like makes you want to bite somebody, right? It's infantile. And it has the ability to sort of like pull you off your center and to make you respond in a way that it just feels like I'm not in control of my own responses. And so for everyone to sort of give yourself this resolution, like I choose to practice self-mastery in relation to anger. And I've just mentioned simply I am present, I am noticing, a wave of anger is present. That right there reduces that wave of anger and its effect on you. And so if you simply stay with that practice, it will transform that energy. And so the yogis also say that the energy that can express itself in anger is basically neutral energy. So if you choose not to allow it to express as anger, it can express as creativity. It can express as constructive action. And so that was what Gandhi did very famously. That was what Dr. King and all of the people who worked with him very famously did as well. Take the energy of anger, don't judge yourself for having that energy, but just say, I see the underlying reality that is giving rise to this emotion. What would I like to create What would I like to help construct? What would I like to help make visible? Keeping in mind, whatever I want to bring into the world, I get to create it in myself first. This is not about telling anyone else how to be. I get to create peace in myself first, if peace is what I would like to help bring into the world. I get to create love and kindness and balance in myself, if love and kindness and balance is what I would like to help create in the world. Welcome. I'm Swami Nityananda. If you are enjoying this talk, we invite you to like, share, and subscribe. We also invite you to subscribe to our free newsletter on Substack, available at the link below this video. Thank you for being the joy that you are.
Thank you, Swami. I feel like you kind of started answering our next question, which is how can we heal anger, rage, and frustration within ourselves? So Swami mentioned that we could, one, notice, be aware of it, and that helps to cultivate spaciousness within us so that we're not actually identified with that pattern. And so every human personality is essentially a nest of patterns. We have patterns related to anger, we have patterns related to fears, we have patterns related to desires, we have patterns related to likes, and all of those patterns together are almost like a net. And that net becomes the personality that you call yourself. So in the distinct way that my net is formed, that's the personality called Kashi. And then the distinct way that your net is formed, that's the personality called you. Keep in mind, it's just a manifestation of pure consciousness. That's all that it is. So you can untangle that net, and that's basically the work of being a yogi. You're untangling the net until you can be totally aware that, wow, I am pure consciousness. All is pure consciousness. Everything that exists in this net is just a play of pure consciousness. With that said about your patterns, know what your patterns are. What triggers anger in you may be totally different from what triggers anger in the person next to you or a family member. And if you know what your triggers are, you can work with that. For example, my triggers are very weird, I'll say by the way. Corna, you can hear her laughing because it's true. So one of my triggers are like smells. Like if something is malodorous, fight, I want to fight. I just cannot take it. So I know that about myself, right? So if I notice like, man, this place is not, I am not happy right now. I know that I need to breathe. I know that I need to connect with reality. You know, like I know my work because I know my trigger. Another one of my triggers is hunger. Like we could be on the road trip and then all of a sudden the music is just, this is irritating me. And Porn is like, when is the last time that you ate? I like, that is exactly right. So some of the triggers are gonna be physiological. Like if you are hungry, that is a normal human response to have some irritation. And we're not limited by that. We can still be at peace in the midst of hunger. I can still be at peace if the scent is not in alignment with my desire. And the truth is, if anger occurs because there are times where there are a gap between what my brain wants and what reality is, that's gonna happen all the time. There will always be opportunities to feel anger because something is not going our way, because we think things should unfold in a certain way. So what this ultimately invites us to do is to practice surrendering to pure consciousness and to the play of pure consciousness. I might not understand why things are unfolding in this way, and I'm willing to trust that things are unfolding for the highest and the best. I might not agree humanly with the ways that things are unfolding right now. But what is actually in my power? That goes back to what Swami was saying about the transformation of energy, right? There's the story of Christ when he's in the temples and he goes over there and he sees like the moneylenders, and this temple is supposed to be a place of prayer, and he's angry, he's upset. And you know, you could say that his rage is coming from a justifiable place, because things are not unfolding, for the highest and what seems to be the best in that moment. He flips over tables, but he doesn't stay there. And I think what that story is making visible to us is that as humans, we will feel a spark of anger. It is on us to heal that anger when it comes up. Otherwise, we will be in the vibrational pattern of like, I'm an angry person. I will draw to me all the things that angry people draw to them consistently. I'm an angry person. I'm in the grocery store. I'm an angry person. I'm with my family. I'm an angry person. And that becomes our personality pattern. And it's not who we are, but it's just how we've chosen to identify ourselves with limitation. So sitting with it, acknowledging it, not going with the anger, we have to find that space within ourselves to pause, because ultimately that is what interrupts the pattern. That is the pattern interrupter. The pause is the pattern interrupter. Just giving ourselves the space to not go with it. In the beginning, it's difficult. It is work. It is work. It's called work for a reason. So we work at it, and the more that we do it, the easier that it becomes, and such that that anger just kind of doesn't arise in the same way that it once did. It almost is like I would describe it as like an echo. Like, wow, in this situation, I could feel an echo of like where I might have felt anger, but it's just not there. It's like, wow, I'm not angry about this. Look at you, God, okay? This is amazing. And so again, it's just through the consistent and steady practice. Drop by drop, the bucket is full, the Buddha told his students. He was talking about meditation. Do your work. Meditation works. It heals those neural pathways that we have in the brain that are like automatically gone to anger. So that's what it means to have a pattern. It just means like you react in a certain way to stimuli every single time, because that is the pattern that you have activated. But meditation will rewire the brain so that when you have that stimuli, the way you respond is totally different. It's in your control.
Thank you. So I would also say what you mentioned about meditation is a really wonderful observation. Someone recently mentioned to me that as a result of the meditations that we've been doing in Sundays, that they said it was like a mountain of anger and grief got vacuumed up, and it just wasn't there anymore. And in place of this mountain of anger and grief, there was just love, and there was just peace, and there was just understanding. So if you are willing to let go of holding on to the anger, it can go, and it can completely transform, and in its wake, you can feel only love and only peace, only understanding. Their comment is really astute, because that's another thing that I would invite people to practice, is noticing, is there anything underneath the anger? So sometimes there could be sadness underneath the anger, or there could be hurt underneath the anger, or there can be a sort of basic, my take on it is that every human has this pure-heartedness, this innocence, and we arrive in the world and we experience pain and shock and trauma. And so there's this kind of like, wait, what? Where did that come from? And so that aspect of us that's innocent and is like, how does it hurt so much sometimes to be here in human form? That can feel sadness, it can feel grief. And if we're not healing the sadness and the grief, then anger can arise. But if we're healing the sadness and the grief, then anger does sort of non-arise. And so I would just say as well, in addition to looking at, is there anything beneath this anger? Like, what is this anger pointing to? What is this anger helping me understand? Just ask yourself, is there a higher perspective on what is making me angry? And you were mentioning, Acharya Kashi was mentioning the structure of the brain. So I'm simplifying a little bit, but the basic thing is that the part of the brain that gives rise to anger is the lower part of the brain. So you're just asking yourself, what does the higher part of the brain say about this? And so to make sure that you give yourself enough space and enough room, instead of just reacting instantly, to just say, what does the higher part of my brain say about this? And that's where you connect with the part of your brain that's got wider perspective, and it's in contact with long-term memory. So the Bhagavad Gita, I just absolutely treasure how the yogis know this. The Bhagavad Gita says that we become oblivious to our spiritual nature if we give way to anger. We become prey to delusion if we give way to anger, we forget. It actually says anger destroys the power of remembrance. We forget. And so if you want to counteract anger, then you are sort of self-required to say, I would like to see clearly, and I'm committed to seeing clearly. I'm open to seeing clearly, and I'm willing to admit that my particular human perspective sees this way. I'm open to an expanded understanding. I'm open to a wider perspective. I'm open to a higher perspective. I'm open to remembering my spiritual nature. I'm open to letting go of delusion and to understanding what brings peace. The Buddha is equally clear about this. He says, shun anger, let go of pride, break out of every shackle. So he's basically saying, if you give way to anger, you are confining yourself. You are imprisoning yourself. And he also says, whoever controls their anger is like a true charioteer in command of the rolling chariot. You are the chariot right there. And so you get to be in command of yourself in relation to anger. And so there are so many reasons for doing this. Swami Nityananda, I looked up one of his teachings. One of the reasons I started our opening meditation by inviting us to release, if we have been carrying any anger for others, we have the ability in meditation to release that with love and with respect and just send it back to the source. It transforms back into light. And then we have the ability to bring in whatever would be present if anger were not here. And so that's like creativity, it's understanding, it's love, it's compassion, it's awareness. Swami Nityananda says that we can receive from our parents, from our ancestors, their state of consciousness, their beliefs, their judgments, their emotions. There's no blame involved in this. This just means they're human. Those are human energy patterns. You're human. You have human energy patterns. So practice self-awareness. Was anger present in your family? If so, there's likely some meditating and some releasing for you to do. And again, just to emphasize that this is a matter of no blame. Years ago, I saw the Dalai Lama, and he was speaking, and he said his dad had anger. And he was self-aware. If he had had kids, he would have had to master his own anger. And so there's no blame in that. That's the Dalai Lama, right? So if you are a person who gets to practice self-mastery in relation to anger, you're in good company. And what Swami Nityananda says is we can change anything we have been programmed to act out. We are greater than the program. I am greater than any structure that has ever been put in place for my enslavement or even for my well-being or growth. That which you are is greater than any belief, attitude, or emotion you have known. You are the infinity of creativity. You are not the personality or the ego consciousness. And so you can connect with what is deeper than any human pattern and heal any state of consciousness, belief, judgment, energy, emotion, even the ones that got passed down through families.
Thank you, Swami. All right, our next question. What if I live with someone who experiences a lot of anger, rage, frustration? This question, when I was meditating on it, I thought of the story of the Buddha, which you're probably familiar with. It's the story of the Buddha and the father of a student of his. The father was not happy that his son had left home to study with the Buddha. So he goes to visit the Buddha, and he's upset. He's very angry. He's pointing. He's saying a lot of very pointed things. And then at the end of his conversation, the Buddha says to him, what do you say to someone who gives you a gift that you don't want? And the man says, I don't accept the gift. And the Buddha says, I don't accept your gift. And so I, one, love that story. And two, I think that story is a roadmap for us if we live with people who experience anger, or we work with people who are angry. We don't have to carry that weight. If we are centered, if we are steady, if we are connected to what is true, It's like the swan that Swami so often talks about. No water will get through those feathers. And so it just kind of like, we can shake it off. However, if something in us accepts the gift, meaning that something that that person said triggers us, that they have the ability to trigger us, something that that person said we kind of unspokenly agree with about ourselves, something that person said that we feel like we need to fight against, then we are reactive. Then it's like the water has gotten through the feathers. In truth, the water can never get through the feathers because we are pure consciousness. We are limitless. We are love itself. We are untouchable. And so if we feel like we are touchable, we have to ask ourselves, what am I identified with right now? Do I want to be right? Right? Sometimes people in their anger can hurt us, and it's okay to acknowledge that feeling of hurt. It's okay to say, this is really unacceptable behavior. I don't deserve this. That's all okay. And we don't have to let somebody's anger become our anger. We don't have to mirror that anger back. We don't have to allow somebody's misunderstanding, misperceiving of what is real to make us feel sorrow. We are the masters of our emotional state. And so it's, again, just through steadiness and practice that we can stay in alignment. And the truth is, if we are doing our work, that person will find a way out of our experience. It's not a match. It's not a vibrational match. If I'm steady, I'm centered, I'm love, I'm clear, I'm navigating this with skill, at some point, they will find a way, or it will heal. It will resolve itself. Another thing that we can do is, on the level of the heart, we can connect with what is true in that person. So the truth is that person is not their anger. The truth is that person is the very same thing that all is: pure consciousness, love. And on the level of soul, we can connect with that reality and just send love. And the same thing that will happen that I mentioned earlier, it'll just heal itself, or they will bounce right out of our experience in some kind of way. This is just how the laws of energy work for us. So it's on us to stay steady. It's on us to be love. The Buddha, he said a few things. I have here a quote from the Dhammapada. He abused me, beat me, overcame me, robbed me. Those with such thoughts imbued have not their anger calmed. He abused me, beat me, overcame me, robbed me. Those with not such thoughts imbued have their anger calmed. No, indeed, by anger are angers here calmed ever. By meekness are they calm. This is an ancient doctrine. And so what the Buddha is telling us is, if we hold thoughts that are on the same vibrational wavelength as anger, we will draw more of that to us. And so it is on us to have thoughts of love, to have thoughts of peace, to have thoughts of what is true. And in that way, we are free. In that way, anger heals in us. It just doesn't arise. He says, by meekness, they are calm. And MLK actually went on to paraphrase that when he said that only love can cast out hatred. Hatred can't do that. And so it works the same way with anger.
I'm saying the same thing that you just said. To work with this really practically, and I can give a concrete example. Someone recently said that they are related to someone who experiences a lot of anger. And they said, in relation to this person's anger, my reacting has completely dissolved. All of this anger energy is not in my household the way it used to be. And so their household is the same, but they have transformed their own consciousness. And so their experience of their household has also completely transformed as well. So if you want to, let's just put into practice these teachings, feel the calm, clear light within your own heart. And I invite you just to, within your own heart, feel the calm, clear light within your own heart. And then I'm just going to very briefly radiate a little bit of anger energy your way. And I'm inviting you just to neutrally observe it and to notice I don't need to allow that anger energy into my energy field. I can stay in the calm, clear light of my being. And then what happens is there's no room in you for that anger to connect. And so it just moves through you. So another thing for you to practice is, am I mirroring or matching this energy of anger in any way? And again, these things are very related to what Acharya Kashi was just saying. But I'm in contact with the light within my heart, within the core of my being. I take responsibility for healing any energy or thinking or behavior that mirrors or matches the energy of anger. And then I'm able to neutrally witness and observe this wave of anger expressed by this other person is able to just move through me. So another thing that I would invite you to do is that energy of light at the core of your being, invite that light to expand until it fills your entire body. And then invite that light to expand until it's like 1 foot in front of you, behind you, to the left of you, to the right of you, above you, below you. And notice how strong you are in light. So someone said to me recently, I've become aware of my own power. It's not power against anyone. It's not power over anyone. It's this power to choose to be the light that I am. And so this is where we remember our true power, is if we're in contact with that light, we come from that light, we allow that light to think through us, to speak through us, to act through us. And then there is an ever-present guidance, step by step, moment by moment, thought by thought. If there is any thinking or pattern within ourselves that mirrors or matches the anger, we can gradually heal it. And we will gradually be creating new pathways in our brain every time we meditate. And so this is what the Buddha is talking about when he says we can choose to drive our own chariot rather than having our chariot run away from ourselves. And it's only if we choose to drive our own chariot that we are able to live in freedom, that we are able to live in love, that we are able to live in peace. And that is what it means to choose lasting happiness and to create lasting happiness for ourselves. We also, along the way, give an invitation, anyone who comes into contact with us, like our families, people who work with us, anyone we encounter on the bus or the train, they also receive a benefit. And so I'll just mention that someone shared with me recently that their kids are learning because their partner is a meditator. If their partner gets upset, their partner will excuse themselves for a few minutes, go meditate, and then come back calm, cheerful, collected, and balanced. And so just imagine that person is teaching their kids. It's possible to self-regulate. It's possible to take responsibility for my emotions. It's possible to excuse myself for 5 or 10 minutes, meditate, sort of gain that center, that balance, that steadiness within myself, and then come back and be fully present and engaged and responsive. If you're at work and you're not able to excuse yourself for 5 to 10 minutes, simply breathing into your heart and feeling that light within your own heart, right in the midst of the high pressure meeting that you're in, right in the midst of the big decision that you're helping to make. Just breathe into your heart, and it's possible to give yourself that same emotional reset right in the midst of the work that you're doing, the task that you are engaged in. And in this way, you are demonstrating it's possible to shift the energy in the whole room as you shift your own energy in this particular way.
Thank you, Swami. I'll add one other thing before we go to the next question, related to if we live with someone who experiences anger or frustration. I think that if we are in the home with somebody who is angry, we have to listen to ourselves, because it may be that we can do all of the work Swami just shared in that home. It may be we need to get out of that home. So we do need to listen to ourselves, like what our inner guidance is telling us to do. Your heart will never guide you astray. And so it could very much be possible to do the work in that home, and it could also be possible to not do it there. I mentioned that the person could float out of our vibrational experience. Divine grace will take care of what that looks like for us, regardless of it. But we do not want to put ourselves in situations where we are at the end of another person's mismanagement of their emotions. And so if that means that my heart is guiding me to take steps outside of this place, that's perfect and okay. And we are totally supported throughout that entire experience and process. Okay, our next question. What if I feel anger that's larger than individual? Swami, do you want to start with that question?
Sure. As I hope I've alluded to throughout this conversation, I think everyone does. So I don't think that there's a human on the planet who only feels individual anger. I think that every human, we are connected to the energy patterns that come to us through our parents, through our ancestors, through our culture, through the news, just through human consciousness. We're all connected to energy patterns that are larger than ourselves. I'm paraphrasing and building on something that Thich Nhat Hanh says, the venerable Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh. Every step that we take in peace, we take for our ancestors also. Our ancestors may not have been able to walk in peace. They may have experienced forced migration. They may have experienced enslavement. They may have experienced physical violence or other violence. Every step that we walk in peace, we take for our ancestors also. And so the yogic teachings are very clear about this as well, that when we meditate and when we heal patterns of reactivity and pain and hurt and woundedness in ourselves, we benefit our ancestors 7 generations back. And so just think about that, and think about what your ancestors might have been experiencing 7 generations back. You're healing any patterns that come down to you in a way that also benefits your ancestors and in a way that benefits your descendants as well. And so Thich Nhat Hanh says that as well. As we heal these patterns in ourselves, then these patterns of anger don't pass on through us. And it really is the case. You were mentioning, like, our households can transform, our workplaces can transform, our institutions can transform, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with the world can transform as well. So as we dedicate ourselves, and I would just say that it can be right now. That's a thing that I would emphasize is right now. We don't have to leap a river. We don't have to climb a mountain. We don't have to go to another country. It takes the willingness right now to say, in this moment right now, I dedicate myself to remember the wholeness that I am and to come from the wholeness that I am. I dedicate myself to remember that I am deeper than anger. That in me, which is true and eternal, is deeper than anger, and it's also deeper than the absence of anger. So the Upanishads tell us that it's only our human self that can say, I'm angry, I'm not angry. Be in contact with what's deeper than the aspect of yourself that can experience anger or can be free from experiencing anger, and come from that joy, come from that exuberance, come from that pure life force, and allow that life force to guide you. It will let you know. So it's just the willingness right here and right now. Wholeness is here. I'm choosing to be present in wholeness right here, right now. I'm choosing to open my heart to wholeness right here, right now. And then from that wholeness, if we have any work to do to heal anger patterns in ourselves, we will be aware. It will rise into our awareness. And if anger is present in you, there's a process to this. So be steady and be patient and be kind and keep going. And what you gain as you keep going is nothing less than self-liberation. If I give power to another human outside of me to determine how I feel about myself and life and the world and the divine, I am making myself unfree. It is only if I choose to exercise autonomy over my thoughts, my words, my choices, my actions, how I feel, how I think, how I respond, that I am free. And so then I'm remembering my true self. I'm remembering the divine in me. And you were saying as well, other people are free to think as they think. They're free to speak as they speak. They're free to behave as they behave. One of the things the Bhagavad Gita says is, we don't actually have the ability to interfere with anyone else's freedom of will. And so they are on their journey. If you see people who are the veins popping out in the neck, the red faces, they're on their journey. Deeper than that, at the core of their being, light is still present. As long as there is breath in their body, light is still present in them, and they come from the same parent. They come from the same divine source. If we heal ourselves in relation to anger, we won't be thrown off balance if we see other people, even if they are consumed by anger. And so then we're really free to be here and just to say every moment, here I am, I'm available to be of service to highest good. And highest good, step by step, moment by moment, choice by choice, with our talents and our skill sets will just help us be in that energy of highest good. And in this way, it actually is possible to live in peace, to live in joy, to live in freedom, to live in magnificent, pure love, no matter what is happening.
Thank you, Swami. I'll just add two things. The first is that the anger that we feel on the individual level and the anger that we feel as a collective is the same anger. It's not like two different types of anger, and the way that we heal them is the exact same way. The process is the same. To notice that we're having it, pause, not identify with it. It's the same thing. And then the second thing is that when the yogis tell us to be steady in the midst of chaos, when the yogis tell us to choose love in the face of hatred, we're not being told that we have to transform our perspective to agreeing with what we perceive as injustice. We don't have to agree with injustice, but what we are saying is that I'm not going to be limited. I'm not going to not be free because that person is confined. I'm not going to not choose love because that person is really an ignorant fool and is choosing unkindness. I am in control of me. So that's what the yogic teachings are telling us. You are in control of you. I am in control of me, and I have a choice. Each of us is empowered. And so for me to heal my anger, even if there is injustice, that is powerful. And from that place, the ideas for transformation emerge to move beyond what I see. So often, out of reactivity, we take action out of anger, and then we create something that causes more chaos later down the line. But it's only when we connect with what is real, like MLK. That was total chaos and injustice and hatred, and it's understandable to feel livid in the face of massacre. Generations of it. And he chose himself, he chose power. And what a movement it was. And so the capacity for that is in every single one of us by doing our work and healing what is in us. So again, we don't have to agree. That's not what the yogis are telling us that the process is. It's really self-ownership. Self-ownership is what leads to self-transformation. And in that way, we truly can be peace. And we can truly be at peace, even when others are at war. Even when others are doing the most horrific things that humans can possibly do. From that place, it's more like, where I would once have been angry, I now have compassion and understanding about what is happening on the level of the human condition. And from that place, I want to do karma yoga. I want to say, here I am, pure consciousness. How may I be of service to love in the midst of this? How may I be of service to understanding in the midst of this? And then the next logical thing flows. And from that place, transformation happens. So choosing love over anger in ourselves is one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves, to be at peace in a world that might never know peace. That's an amazing gift that we give ourselves. Amen.